Hi, everyone, and welcome to the International Rescue Committee's video series on working as a gig driver. Over the last few years, gig driving opportunities, such as Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash, have become a popular way to earn income. Whether you're thinking of using gig driving as your main source of income or to supplement your income, there are many things you'll want to know to optimize your earning potential. In this series, we'll review considerations for starting as a gig driver and ways to financially plan for your driving business to make the most out of these opportunities. Part 1 of this series will focus on starting as a driver, including company, driver, and vehicle requirements, as well as other tips from experienced drivers on how to prepare for this type of work. Part 2 of this series will focus on financial planning for your driving business, which includes strategies to optimize your earnings, budgeting and tracking towards your profit goals, and paying taxes as a driver. Let's dive in. During part 1 of this series, we want you to walk away with the following information: an understanding the gig economy and what it is to work in this field, things to think about before you start driving, and how to start working as a gig economy driver. What is gig work? The gig economy operates different than standard employment opportunities. With a standard employment opportunity, you would be paid by a company, usually hourly or salaried, for performing certain responsibilities during set hours. As a gig driver, you're paid based on completion of specific tasks or gigs, and are paid on demand for completing these tasks. When working as a gig driver, you are considered an independent contractor or freelance worker using a vehicle to complete your gigs. Being a gig driver offers some flexibility where you can make your own schedule and decide on what gigs you would like to accept. There are a lot of gig driving opportunities out there. For example, you might work in rideshare, meaning you're picking people up and bringing them to a destination of their choice. Or you could work delivery, where you're transporting goods or food instead of people. Each opportunity will have its different requirements, which we'll review throughout this presentation. A challenge, though, of these gig driving jobs are that you are not considered an employee of the company. This means you're often not eligible for employee benefits such as health insurance, and you must self-report your taxes. In essence, you're a small business owner, so you may have to work a bit harder to make sure you're earning the amount you need to support yourself and your family. From now on, we're going to use the phrase driver in driving business to refer to anyone working in this field. Most drivers share that the most important thing to think about before you start driving is, what are your goals in taking on this driving opportunity? Are you driving to supplement your current income, to make some extra money towards a savings goal, or are you looking for these opportunities to be your primary source of income? Thinking about this from the start will help you make a plan for your driving business. Being a driver is an investment of time and money. You might not earn the amount you want to right away, so think about the amount of time and money you're willing to invest in this opportunity. Another consideration before you start is to think about your safety. Driving has its risks. The more you're on the road, the more likely you are to be involved in an accident or a fender bender. It's important to be comfortable driving before taking on any of these gig opportunities and to practice safe driving practices to protect yourself. Lastly, drivers recommend making a household budget with your income, expenses, and some budgeting for savings before you even start driving. This will help you determine your earning goal and how much money you can invest in these opportunities to start out. There are so many companies out there offering driving jobs, it can be a bit overwhelming. You'll want to do some research on different companies before deciding which to sign up for. When researching, think about what's popular in my area. What are the requirements? For example, companies that offer rideshare or the gigs where you're transporting people usually have stricter driver and vehicle requirements than delivery positions, but they may earn more in your area. Also, think about earning potential with the schedule that you're able to work. Some examples of companies include DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, Amazon Flex, Postmates, Instacart, just to name a few. You can work for multiple companies, but we recommend starting with one. Then, if you'd like to work for more, add some in slowly once you're comfortable. It can be challenging to juggle multiple gig jobs because each one has a different requirement for maintaining those opportunities. So now let's take a deeper look at the requirements for many of these companies. Driver requirements differ by company. However, there are some standards that most look for in their drivers. Generally, they'll look for drivers who are at least 18 or 21 years of age. You must have a US issued ID, have a social security or tax ID number. This is usually for the background check, which most companies will run when you sign up. You'll need a bank account to receive payments for driving jobs. As most driving jobs are phone app based, you will need to be comfortable using phone applications. So some digital literacy there is important. Additionally, these apps and the majority of your customers will likely be English speaking. So intermediate to good English comprehension is important. Lastly, if you're using a car, note some driving jobs let you use a bike or scooter. You will also need a valid US driver's license, a clean driving record. They don't want to see too many moving violations, which are tickets or offenses you get while your vehicle is in motion. An example is they don't want to see speeding tickets, but a parking ticket is not as big of a problem. And then they'll also want to see some experience driving. Some companies might require to show you've been driving for a few years. This is most often the case when you're doing a rideshare app versus delivery, since with rideshare, you'll have actual people in your car. Now that you know the requirements for the driver, let's review the requirements a company may have for the vehicle you're using. First, you want to look at the company's approved vehicles for gigs. Depending where you live, some apps might allow you to use a bike, scooter, or on-foot delivery. We're going to focus on the requirements if you're using a car. Some companies may have requirements for the year, condition, and features of the car. For example, some rideshare apps require your car is less than 10 years old or has 4 doors, or they want to make sure there's no advertisements or major damage to the exterior of the car. The vehicle must be insured in order to use it for gig opportunities, and your name must be on the policy. Some companies provide a level of insurance coverage, but they may not cover everything that can happen to you or the vehicle. So it's safer to always have your own insurance as well. You can borrow or rent another person's car for driving, but you will need to be on that vehicle's insurance plan, which can be tricky depending on the state you're in. If you decide to borrow a car, keep in mind that you'll be putting a lot of wear and tear on the car and could potentially damage it. You'll want to have a conversation with the person who owns the car on how you intend to use it and make sure you aren't making any trouble for your relationship with this person by using their car for gig opportunities. As far as license plates, this comes down to the laws in your state around gig driving. Some states may require an application and special plates if you're going to be working a driving job. Generally, when you're researching, you can find this information on the company's website or app. Lastly, on vehicle requirements, you cannot have a salvage title, which is when a car is recovered from theft or rebuilt after a lot of damage. This is a liability issue and important to keep in mind if you're buying a used car for driving jobs. You can always ask when you're making your purchase. These requirements may be different based on the type of driving job you're doing, such as rideshare versus delivery, the company you're working for, and your state or local regulations. Again, it's important to research these before starting up. Let's look at an example. Let's say you'd like to do a rideshare driving job in Atlanta. The company requires your vehicle to be 2003 or newer, have 4 doors and 5 seats, including the driver's seat, be in good condition on the exterior with no obvious damage like large dents, no commercial branding on the exterior, meaning no stickers for companies or businesses on the outside. All basic safety features such as seatbelts and lights have to be working. There must be a clean interior with no stains or strange smells, no salvage titles, and have in-state license plates. Someone looking to do rideshare in Atlanta would want to know all of this before they start, since it may mean that they don't have the right car for this driving app and they may need to consider other options. Let's go back to the question around rentals. A common question people often ask about starting as a driver is if you need to own a car. Technically, you don't need to be the owner of the car to use it for these driving businesses. One option is to rent a car. Here we've got a comparison of 2 rental options, Hertz or Hire Car. Both companies have rental options for gig driving workers. Hertz has a base rental rate of $219 a week without taxes and other fees, while Hire Car allows you to rent daily, weekly, or monthly from $30 to $55 a day, $250 to $450 a week, and $1,000 to $1,200 a month. As to rental length, Hertz requires a 1 week minimum and maximum of 28 days for the vehicle. Hire Car, on the other hand, allows for daily, weekly, or monthly rentals. As to insurance, they both provide insurance options. However, Hertz includes this in their overall price. For either option, the main challenge is the cost, which can be pretty high. Renting a car can be costly and may take away from your total earning potential. Other challenges include your liability if there's any damage to the car, the length of the rental, and the fact that you'll need to pick up and drop off the car after each use. So you're going to need transportation to get to and from the rental agency. It could be beneficial if you're doing gig work occasionally and would not require the car for longer periods of time. But it's important for you to do a budget prior to starting driving to weigh your options. We'll go over some budgeting tools in the second part of this series. In addition to driver and vehicle requirements, companies may ask for some additional steps for you to start working with them. With all driving businesses taking place on apps, you'll need a smartphone with a good mobile data plan to access opportunities. Some companies have phone rental options if needed, but these come with restrictions on what you can use the device for and are another cost. It's also recommended you have a phone stand and charger to make your driving easier. Some companies may also require you to complete some online training before starting, which often review company policies, driver expectations, and safety policies. You may be required to display a decal or sticker of the services you're working with. Lastly, your state may require additional permits to work as a driver. For example, Nevada and New York require you apply for a permit to operate as a rideshare driver. You may not be able to start right away as you have to wait for these permits and licensing to get approved. While there are a lot of requirements to keep in mind before you start driving, companies also offer some rewards and benefits for their drivers. Some examples of benefits include partial insurance coverage or discounts on insurance with certain providers, gas savings programs, roadside assistance, discounted car maintenance, cash back or cash bonuses, training discounts, and other discounts or benefits. Again, these are all company specific, so check it out before you invest in any of these services. Once you've done some research and decided which opportunities you'd like to move forward with, you can sign up for the respective companies and their apps. You'll want to download the app on your phone. Create an account, complete the application questions, and upload the required documents. They may ask for your government ID, driver's license, vehicle registration, proof of insurance, and social security number or tax ID number. After that, most companies will run a background check. While you're waiting for final approval, they may ask you to complete some trainings or mandatory trainings in order to be approved. When everything's set, they will notify you and you can get started with your driving. In this training, we learned about all the different considerations you should keep in mind before you start working as a gig driver, including driver and vehicle requirements. In part 2, we'll review how to manage your finances for your driving business, focusing on how to track and organize your finances to ensure that you're making the most of your driving business. Thank you so much for joining us.